Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. So, in this lecture we will see how to interpret Yau's two-party protocol as a secret sharing based protocol, where the parties will be evaluating the circuit based on the semantics of what we call as Yau's two-party secret sharing. So, we will see the full syntax and semantics of Yau's two-party secret sharing, what exactly is the sharing protocol, reconstruction protocol, and how the shared circuit evaluation is done as per this sharing semantic. So, recall that in the Yau's two-party protocol we have two parties, one of the parties performing the role of garbler who garbles the circuit, okay, and another party plays the role of evaluator. And what we want to do here is we want to view this entire protocol executed between the circuit constructor and the circuit evaluator as some kind of secret sharing based protocol, where the two parties are jointly evaluating the circuit in such a way that the collective view of any single party does not reveal anything about the underlying values and the input values. Okay. And that is precisely is the invariant which we maintained till now when we saw the secret sharing based MPC protocol. So, remember we saw the BGW protocol as well as the GMW protocol, and in both these protocols the parties maintain the invariant that each value during the circuit evaluation remains secret shared with threshold T in such a way that the collective view of any subset of T parties does not reveal anything about the underlying values. We want to do something similar even in the context of Yau's two-party protocol, and in the context of Yau's two-party protocol we are in a special case because there are only two parties and one of them is allowed to be corrupt. So, what we want to now do is we want to visualize the entire computations done in the Yau's two-party protocol as an instantiation or as a special case of secret sharing based protocol. So, for that we have to first identify what exactly is the sharing semantics of the so called Yau's two-party secret sharing scheme, and once that semantics is clear, then we have to visualize how exactly the computations done by the two parties can be visualized as a special case of secret sharing based protocol. Okay. Now, if you might be wondering why exactly we want to do this. This will be later useful when we will see how the parties can perform mixed computation. Okay. So, now let us go through the Yau's two-party secret sharing semantics. And remember we have two parties here, one of the parties playing the role of constructor, another party playing the role of evaluator. So, they perform different roles, unlike the BGW protocol and GMW protocol, where the actions performed by all the parties are symmetric in the sense they perform similar actions. For the Yau's protocol, the constructor performs it plays a different role compared to the evaluator. So, imagine we have a gate like this, okay, and we will be considering Yau's two-party secret sharing semantics based on the point end permute optimization plus the free XOR technique. Okay. Of course, if you do not want to follow the point and permute optimization or the free XOR technique, then the secret sharing semantic will be slightly different, but for our discussion we will assume that the two parties are interested in evaluating the circuit by following the point and permute optimization coupled with the free XOR technique. So, as per this sharing semantic, there will be a global offset R which will be randomly chosen by the constructor, and it will be known only to the constructor, and this will be fixed at the beginning of the protocol. Remember, every time the protocol is executed, Yau's protocol is executed, the offset will be selected from the scratch. So, it is not the case that the same value of offset is used for all the instances of Yau's protocol between Alice and Bob. So, this random offset R is a random bit string of length lambda bits, where lambda is your security parameter, and it is random except that its LSB is 1, and this ensures that the permutation bits associated with the different keys corresponding to a wire or a value are complement to each other. Okay. So, now imagine that there is a value z, and remember in the Yau's secret sharing protocol all the values are bits, okay, because Yau's protocol is used for evaluating a Boolean circuit. So, the bit z will be either 0 or 1. So, we now want to understand that how exactly we can imagine or interpret the computations performed in the Yau secret sharing protocol as a case of secret sharing scheme. And for doing that, we have to identify what exactly will be the shares of Alice, what will be the shares of Bob for a bit z as per the so called Yau's two-party secret sharing semantic. So, I will be interchangeably using the term wire and value. Okay. So, z might you can interpret as the label of a wire, or you can also interpret that since z is a wire which can take either the value 0 or 1. So, it can have two possible values. So, in the Yau's two-party secret sharing scheme corresponding to this wire or a value, there will be two keys associated, both of them are of lambda bits. One key corresponding to the value z equal to 0, another key corresponding to the value z equal to 1, and the two keys, namely the keys corresponding to 0 and 1, they are related as per this relationship. Namely, if we perform the XOR of the key corresponding to z equal to 1 and z equal to 0, we get the offset R. Moreover, if this value z or the wire z is the outcome of XOR gate, then the 0 key corresponding to this value z is set to be the XOR of the keys corresponding to the gate inputs. Okay. And as per our sharing semantic of Yau two-party secret sharing, the shares of Alice and Bob will be as follows. So, the share for Alice will be the 0 key corresponding to the bit z, and the key share corresponding to Bob will be the key corresponding to the actual value of z. Okay. So, what I am saying here is that z can take the value either 0 or 1, irrespective of what exactly is the value of z. Even if z is equal to 0, the share of Alice will be the 0 key associated with 0. Even if z is equal to 1, the share associated with the share for Alice will be the 0 key associated with 0. Okay. So, that means the share of Alice is like completely independent of what exactly is the value of z. Namely, her share will be always the 0 key associated with that value. The key or the share associated with Bob will be the actual key corresponding to the actual value of z. So, if z is equal to 0, then Bob's share will be the 0 key corresponding to 0. If z is equal to 1, then Bob's key will be Bob's share will be the key corresponding to z equal to 1. Okay. And we will use this notation to represent that bit z is Yau secret shared. Okay. That means, if I denote a value z inside a lock, that means neither Alice nor Bob knows the full value of z, they only have a share of the bit z, and this notation means the superscript y denotes that the value is secret shared as per the Yau semantic. Okay. I would also like to stress here is that even though Alice share for the bit z will be only the 0 key corresponding to that bit, implicitly she will be having both the keys. Why so? Because if you recall the Yao secret sharing protocol, it is the GC constructor who picks the keys corresponding to all the wires in the circuit. So, if X is a wire, Y is a wire, Z is a wire, Alice would have picked all the keys corresponding to X, Y and Z. Okay. As per the sharing semantic, we will say that okay, her share for the value will be only the 0 key, but implicitly she will be having both the keys corresponding to that bit. But she will be oblivious of what exactly is the key available with Bob, because if she is also aware of what key is available with Bob, then that means that she knows the value of Z as well, which need not be the case. And this precisely matches the way we do the secure computation as per the Yao's protocol. If you recall the Yao's protocol, then Alice or the GC constructor do the garbling, and later on if I consider Bob, then somehow we maintain the invariant that Bob for each wire in the circuit holds the appropriate key. Okay. Namely, if we consider a wire W, and if during the circuit evaluation in clear the value W takes the wire W takes the value 0, then Bob should have the key corresponding to W equal to 0. If during the circuit evaluation in clear W takes the value 1, Bob should have the key corresponding to W equal to 1, but Bob will be oblivious of whether the key it is holding is corresponding to 0 or 1, and that is precisely is the sharing semantic of Yao's two party secret sharing. Implicitly Alice will have both the keys, Bob will have only one of the keys depending upon the exact value of Z, and Alice will be oblivious of what exactly is the key available with Bob or what is the share of Bob, and Bob will not be identifying anything about the value of the bit through his share, because remember the keys associated with any bit or any wire are indistinguishable. But since we are using here free XOR technique, both the keys associated with a wire are not completely random, but since the global offset R is uniformly random and known only to Alice or the GC constructor, Bob just based on its share cannot identify whether the share whether the key available with Bob as a share is the key corresponding to the value 0 or the value 1. Okay. So, this is the notation which we will use to denote Yao's share for Z for Alice or for P naught. So, I call Alice as the party P naught, Bob as the party P 1, and this notation denotes Yao's share for P 1 for Z. Okay. Also remember that the shares here are it is not the case that the same for the same value of Z, the shares of Alice and Bob will always be the same, because it depends upon the keys associated with the value 0 which are picked by Alice. So, they are picked randomly, and also the random offset is also picked randomly, and that ensures that every time Alice and Bob execute the protocol, and if the value of Z remains the same, they might have different shares with different probability depending upon what are the values of the 0 key, 1 key, and what exactly is the value of the random offset. So, that is a sharing semantic of Yao's secret sharing. Now, we have to see how exactly the sharing is done by the dealers here, and here we can have two possible dealers. Either the dealer could be the constructor itself or the dealer could be the evaluator, and depending upon who is going to play the role of dealer, the actual sharing protocol will be different. Again, this is unlike your GMW protocol or BGW protocol, where the steps of the sharing protocol are same irrespective of who is going to play the role of the dealer. Okay. So, for instance, in the BGW protocol, we have used Samir secret sharing. The steps of Samir secret sharing protocol remains the same irrespective of who exactly wants to share a value. In the same way in GMW secret share in GMW protocol we used additive secret sharing where the steps are the same irrespective of who is playing the role of the dealer. But now in the YAWS secret sharing based protocol, since the constructor and the evaluator are playing different roles and the sharing semantics are also kind of different here, have different interpretation, the steps of the sharing protocol will be different if Alice wants to share a value, and the steps of the sharing protocol will be different if Bob wants to share a value. So, let us first see the steps of the sharing protocol, assuming that Alice or the GC constructor wants to share a bit. So, imagine that she has a private input Z, which is either 0 or 1, which she wants to secret share. For doing that, she will pick the 0 key associated with the value Z uniformly at random from the key space, and the key corresponding to Z equal to 1 is picked as per the free XOR optimization. And remember that the LSB of R is 1, and that automatically ensures that the permutation bits for the 0 key and the 1 key, they are complement of each other. Okay. So, remember we are also following the point and permute optimization as well, and that requires that the permutation bits associated with Z equal to 0 and Z equal to 1 should be complement of each other, and that is ensured by this restriction, namely the LSB of the global offset is 1. And now now Alice set her share for Z to be the 0 key irrespective of what is the actual value of Z. Even if Z is equal to 0, she will set her share to be the 0 key. Even if Z is equal to 1, she will set the key corresponding to 0 as her share. And now she will give Bob his share for the bit Z, and Bob's share will be the actual key corresponding to the value of Z. So, if Z is equal to 0, Bob will get the 0 key. If Z is equal to 1, Bob will get the 1 key. And remember, the keys are indistinguishable. So, just based on the value of the key which Bob is receiving, Bob cannot figure out whether it is Z is equal to 0 which is secret shared or whether it is Z is equal to 1 which is secret shared. So, this is how Alice can secret share her bit. And if you see closely here, the secret sharing protocol is nothing but the step in the YAW secret sharing protocol where for all the inputs in the circuit which are owned by Alice, Alice provides Bob the corresponding keys or the garbled input. Okay. So, this step is nothing but providing the encoded Z to Bob, okay, and keeping the 0 key as share for Alice. Now, let us see the steps of secret sharing protocol if it is the Bob who wants to secret share a value. Now, if Bob wants to secret share a value where his private input is Z, then Alice will do the following. Alice will select both the shares, the 0 share as well as the 1 share, or equivalently the 0 key or the 1 key, okay, as per the steps of free XOR technique. And then she will set her share to be the 0 key associated with Z. Now, we need to ensure that Bob should get the key corresponding to the actual value of Z, and he should get only that key, he should not get the other key. And this can be done by executing an instance of oblivious transfer protocol where Alice plays the role of sender with her messages being the keys corresponding to the values of Z, and Bob participates as a receiver with Z as his selection bit, and depending upon the value of Z, he gets the corresponding key, and he learns only that key, he does not learn about the other key. Okay. So, this will be the step which will be this will be the protocol which will be used by Bob to secret share his input Z. Again, if you see this protocol closely, this protocol is nothing but the step in the YAW secret sharing protocol where for all the values which are owned by Bob as the circuit input or the function input, Bob participates in the OT instances and obtains the corresponding encoded or garbled input. That is precisely what we are doing here. We are adding an extra step here, that we are asking Alice to retain the 0 key as her shares for Bob's input Z. Okay. Now, let us see the reconstruction protocol, assuming that we have a bit Z which has been secret shared as per the Yao secret sharing protocol. So, suppose there is a bit Z which has been secret shared, Alice share is the 0 key, Bob's share is the actual key, and now they want to reconstruct the value Z. To reconstruct the value Z, what Alice and Bob can do the following: they can exchange their permutation bits of the shares held by them, right. So, remember this 0 key has a permutation bit and the key held by Bob also has a permutation bit. If the value Z is equal to 0, right, if Z would have been 0, both P naught P 1 have same key. Okay. Namely, Alice's share is the 0 key and Bob's share is also the 0 key, and hence the LSB will be 0 for both the keys, and hence if they XOR them they get back 0. If Z is equal to 1, then P naught P 1 have different keys, namely Alice share would have been the 0 key and Bob's share would have been the 1 key, and hence their permutation bits would be complement of each other, namely Z naught and Z 1 will be complement of each other, and if we XOR them we get back the value 1. So, that will be the reconstruction protocol. So, we had seen the secret sharing protocol, we had seen the reconstruction protocol, and now what is left is the shared gate evaluation protocols, because these are the 3 ingredients which we require for any secret sharing based MPC protocol, right. If you want a secret sharing based MPC protocol for evaluating a circuit, we need mechanisms to share the inputs, we need mechanism to reconstruct a shared input, and we need mechanism to evaluate gates over the shared inputs. So, now we will see how do we evaluate gates in as per the Yao secret sharing interpretation or semantics, and the steps of the gate evaluation will be different depending upon the type of gate. Okay. If the gate which parties want to evaluate is a XOR gate, and imagine that the inputs of this XOR gate are already Yao shared, namely X is Yao shared and Y is also Yao shared. Now, we want to ensure that Z also becomes Yao shared as per the Yao's 2 party secret sharing semantics. So, if X is secret shared, then the share for Alice will be the 0 key, and similarly the share for Y will be the 0 key, which are held by Alice. And then since we are using the free XOR technique, remember that we are using the free XOR technique. The free XOR technique does not require the XOR gate to be garbled. Okay. So, the GC constructor or Alice in this case can simply set her share for Z to be the XOR of the shares of X and Y. Okay. Namely, she will set the share for Z to be the XOR of the X key and the XOR of the Y key held by Alice as per the Yao's sharing semantic, and in the same way Bob will do the same. Bob will set his share for Z to be the XOR of the shares for the X value and Y value held by Bob. And now, if you see closely here, by doing so Bob is actually computing this value, namely it is the XOR of the 0 key associated with Z and R times the XOR of X and Y, and that is precisely what we want to ensure as per the Yao's 2 party secret sharing semantic. As per the Yao secret sharing 2 party semantic, Alice should have the 0 key associated with Z, and that is what she has, because indeed the XOR of the X 0 key and XOR of Y 0 key is the Z 0 key, and we want Bob to hold the key corresponding to the Z depending upon what is the value of Z. If Z is 0, then Bob should hold the 0 key associated with Z. If Z is equal to 1, then Bob should hold the key corresponding to Z equal to 1, and the value of Z depends upon the actual values of x and y, and that is what we are guaranteeing here. Okay. So, evaluating the XOR gate is very simple here, and remember that to evaluate this XOR gate, Alice or the GC constructor can compute its share beforehand. What does that mean? So, even if the values of x and y are not determined, when the GC constructor is garbling the circuit and the inputs of the circuit are not yet ready, Alice, since she knows the 0 key associated with x, the 0 key associated with y, she can simply set her share for the value z irrespective of what is the value of z going to be at the runtime during the execution of the protocol to be the XOR of the keys associated with the x wire and y wire, and this task can be done by Alice beforehand itself. But Bob or the evaluator cannot compute its share for the value z beforehand, because Bob's share for the value z will be the shares of x and y held by Bob, which are determined at the run time when the actual values of x and y are fixed. Okay. Now, let us see how an AND gate can be evaluated, and why we are focusing on only XOR gate and AND gate, because we can always express any Boolean circuit or any function in terms of a Boolean circuit consisting of only these two types of gates, namely the XOR gates and the AND gates. So, we had already seen the process of evaluating the XOR gate. The AND gate can be evaluated as follows. So, again Alice has her shares for the x and y, which are the 0 keys associated with x and y respectively, and Bob at the runtime will have his shares for the x and y, which are the actual keys corresponding to the actual values of x and y. I also stress that implicitly Alice also have the other keys associated with x and y, namely the key corresponding to x equal to 1 and the key corresponding to y equal to 1. Okay. Now, to make the value z available in secret shared fashion as per the Yao secret sharing semantic, what Alice will do is the following. She will garble this AND gate, and for garbling this AND gate she will pick the 0 key associated with z randomly. She will set the 1 key associated with z as per the free XOR technique, okay. And then she will prepare the 4 cipher texts C1, C2, C3, C4 as per the point and permute optimization using her shares of x and y and the implicit keys corresponding to the x wire and y wire held by Alice, right. So, remember, for preparing the garbled circuit we need all the 4 pairs of keys corresponding to the gate input, and Alice indeed have all those 4 pairs of keys, because Alice only picked all the keys here, and depending upon the value of the permutation bits which are present in these keys, C1, C2, C3, C4 will have different interpretations. So, it is not the case that C1 is the encryption corresponding C1 is an encryption prepared using the 0 key for x and 0 key for y. It depends upon the permutation bits. And now, Alice will send these 4 permuted cipher text to Bob, and Bob, in order to get his share for the value z, he will evaluate this garbled AND gate. So, that evaluation process I call as GB point and permute eval. What exactly is that evaluation process? So, Bob will take his share for the x wire, his share for the y wire, depending upon the permutation bits which are there in the x share and y share, he will go and decrypt only the appropriate entry out of this 4 cipher texts, and as a result he will get a key over the z wire, and that will be Bob's share. And by the correctness of the point and permute technique, it will be indeed guaranteed that the key which Bob obtains over the z wire is actually the key which he is supposed to hold as per the Yau's two party sharing semantics. Okay. And again I stress here that the actions of Alice or the GC constructor she can do beforehand itself, before the circuit evaluation starts or before the values of x and y gets fixed, because to compute her share for the value z, all the ingredients required are available with Alice beforehand itself, namely she has all the 4 pairs of keys associated with the x and y wires, she has the global offset. So, she can always prepare this ciphertext C, collection of these 4 ciphertext, and she can keep her share for the z wire as the 0 key. It is only the Bob's share which is determined at the runtime during the circuit evaluation, because in order to determine his share for the z wire, he has to evaluate the circuit, and to evaluate the circuit he needs the appropriate keys over the x and the y wires, which are nothing but his share of the value x and value y respectively. And you can see here that in this process the privacy of x, y and z is preserved, okay, because that comes from the privacy of your Yau secret sharing protocol based on the point and permute optimization. So, with that I end today's lecture. So, I followed this paper, a framework for efficient mixed protocol secure two party computation, to explain the sharing semantics of Yau's two party secret sharing. Thank you.